Hey guys, this is Jim with Straight Up San Diego, and today I want to do a little bit of transaction talk about a subject that's really important to me because I see so much of it and I see the problems associated with it, and that is dual agency. Now, this most frequently comes up with buyers who might go to an open house, they're unrepresented, and the listing agent offers to represent them and the seller in the transaction. Now, from the outset, this might not sound like such a bad idea because, hey, you might think I might save some money in commissions on this, but there are a lot of reasons to think twice about entering into such an agreement, and now we get to go over some of that. But first, let's talk about just what dual agency means. Very simply, dual agency is when a realtor or a brokerage represent both the buyer and the seller in a transaction. Now, I hope some red flags go off with that for you because they should. Even though dual agency is perfectly legal in California, no matter how you slice it, there's an inherent conflict of interest there in trying to represent two parties with sometimes very differing goals. To put it this way, if you're a seller, your agent should be negotiating on your behalf to get you the highest possible price and the best possible terms. Likewise, if you're a buyer, your agent should be negotiating on your behalf to get you the lowest possible price and the best possible terms. How these two competing objectives can be accomplished by one agent simultaneously is really no mystery. It can't be done. Now, it's true that the parties often meet in the middle to come to a compromise, and that's great. That's what negotiations are for. But that just doesn't happen without earnest negotiation on each side. And absent that negotiation, one side is almost necessarily going to miss out on the benefit that they otherwise would have received by having an agent working hard on their behalf and only on their behalf. Even worse, and this is something that I do see frequently, there's a very real possibility that a dual agent will sacrifice the interests of one party just to get the deal done and earn a double commission. Now, clearly that's unethical behavior and a breach of fiduciary duty, but unfortunately, it happens all the time in dual agency situations. I think that double commission is just a lot of temptation. I see this in my law practice on a regular basis, and it's a real matter of concern. So much so, actually, that dual agency is recognized as illegal in 9 states, and that ought to tell you something. Certainly, I don't recommend it, and I don't do dual agency myself for those very reasons. But back to the question of money, which I think is the #1 reason why people agree to do dual agency in the first place. They think they're going to save some money on commissions. So first of all, though, to address that, unless the listing agent has agreed to cut their commission, the seller is certainly not going to benefit from it directly, nor is the buyer going to benefit directly in any way, unless the agent has agreed to credit the buyer or otherwise have the seller lower the price. That said, though, even if there are some immediate savings for one of the parties because of such an agreement, the reality is that the amount saved is almost certainly going to pale in comparison to the benefit that would have been gained from solid representation in price negotiations. The negotiated price figures tend to overshadow the amount of a single agent's commission, so this idea of savings by having only one agent, for the most part, it's a big myth, and it comes with a lot of complications and potential pitfalls. And it's not just the commission and savings that are at issue, it's the terms of the contract. Those terms can sometimes be just as important, if not more important, than the final price. So it's absolutely critical to have an agent working on your behalf and not working both sides of the fence. Are there exceptions to this? Of course, there's exceptions to everything. I could see maybe when price isn't an issue, say amongst family, or the terms of the contract aren't at issue and are well known to the parties. So it's not to say that this could never be done appropriately, except there are still some major considerations and major pitfalls about dual agency that you should be aware of and consider very heavily before going into a transaction. Long and short, if you're considering dual agency, think twice, think more, think thrice, and probably just don't do it. It's an absolute minefield, and one that you probably don't want to wander into. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to leave those in the comments and I'll try to address them, or you can contact me directly. Also, if you have any particular topics that you'd like to see addressed, let me know those as well. And if you'd like to subscribe, of course, you can do that by hitting the button below. Thanks for joining me for this transaction talk, and I will see you next time on Straight Up San Diego.